Trans people in Florida now risk having their driver's licenses revoked because of a memo with some very specific language that has been published. Let's discuss it. Newsweek reports trans people in Florida could have their driver's licenses revoked or face prosecution if they try to change their gender markers, according to a memo shared on social media. Robert Kynock, the deputy executive director for Florida's Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, put out a memo dated a few days ago, which says that, quote, establishing gender on a newly issued Florida driver's license is based on the supporting documents provided with the application. All right, well, what are those supporting documents? The devil is in the details. The documents, quote, must be sufficient to establish the identity of the applicant. Furthermore, misrepresenting one's gender, understood as sex, on a driver's license constitutes fraud and subjects an offender to criminal and civil penalties, including cancellation, suspension, or revocation of his or her driver's license. The critical line here is misrepresenting one's gender, understood as sex. What that means is your gender is understood as your birth sex. Now, whatever your opinion is about who gets to do this, that, or the other thing, the entire principle that many states have adopted when it comes to driver's licenses is your gender identity, not necessarily your birth genitalia, determine what you put on your driver's license with regard to male, female. In some states, you can have an X for non-binary, etc. And what Florida is saying here is the only accurate representation when it comes to gender is based on sex, meaning sex assigned at birth, meaning based on your genitalia when you were born. Gender identity can play no role. We don't even have to delve deeply into the cultural underpinnings of this. We don't have to delve deeply into why this is problematic. But what I do think is relevant here is that once again, we have a so-called conservative principle that is being thrown in the toilet because it is politically inconvenient. And the principle there is government should really only be involved when absolutely necessary. Only in the most serious and imperative circumstances should government even do anything. And yet, here you have government saying, hey, you know what? We're going to choose to get involved. We've determined it's of such critical importance that we tell people how they must identify on driver's license that we will put out a memo saying, hey, we have a policy. And gender on your driver's license must correspond to sex as understood on birth certificates at birth. And it's the latest example of we claim that our principles are A, and we actually act the opposite of A when it is inconvenient to our political goals. And right now, I mean, they're losing on the economy because the economy is good. They're losing just about everywhere. All they have left are these contrived social issues, and they are going to push them as far as they can. We will see whether trans folks in Florida end up prosecuted or end up with licenses revoked.